early on, like, it's definitely, it's a little bit surreal to see, the money and how quickly it can start adding up. I mean, for example, after I bought the course, I started hitting, consistent $1,000 days. It was really getting the framework and the process down that you guys teach that allowed me to kind of scale up. And that's when I started hitting the bigger days, right?
And
So
how
like,
much was that? How much was your biggest month?
yeah, I believe it was like 89,000, just over 89,000 US, something like
Yeah,
that.
wow.
And on the one offer that I have, I've been able to do over 510K on that one offer, which has been great.
510,000. Wow, nice.
Yeah. I know that there's people doing, what I do in a month every single day, right? And you can look around the testimonials and just see that. So this is me just getting started, right? So
Yeah.
I can only imagine what's gonna come of it.
All right. Well, today we have Ryan Hood. So Ryan, it's awesome to jump on here and see your success as you've gone through the course and utilize the method. So for people that don't know you, do you want to just introduce yourself, where you're from, a little bit about like, your age and just a general background?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Ryan. Obviously, I'm from Toronto, Canada. 26 years old. Prior to this, did a bunch of different stuff, but all around kind of digital marketing. So yeah, man, finding your course was super helpful and kind of allowed me to learn a lot more about this side of the space.
Yeah. So you've been in digital marketing, the online world for a little bit, but what did you do before the online world? Like what was your, you know, like, did you work a regular job? Like, what did you do in college? Did you go to college? Like, what was your life sort of before the online space?
Yeah, totally. So actually funny that you bring that up. I actually was in college or university here and was getting a philosophy degree, and to be honest with you, I know that there are people out there who make philosophy degrees work. And I actually asked my professor one time, I said, what do you do with a philosophy degree? And he told me, he was like, well, you got a couple options. He's like, you can write a philosophy book. But he's like, those don't sell very well at this time. Or you can go to law school. And just to be frank, like I didn't have the grades for law school and I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So it was kind of between a rock and a hard place and just decided to start running Facebook ads a couple of years ago. And that turned into like an agency and doing some agency work, which was really cool to just learn about and stuff. And yeah, brought me here, which is a lot more performance based, which is great. You can obviously do a whole lot more than, in terms of volume here than you can with an agency a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah, interesting philosophy degree because I'm into philosophy, but yeah, getting a degree would be interesting. But I mean, now that you have, like, obviously you're interested in philosophy, but now that you have the free time on your hands, you can just study and like look into philosophy and that as much as possible. So, did you find any value like in learning philosophy that like also led you to, probably like a different mindset or perception that then led you into like trying to make money online?
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously the topic in itself is super interesting, but at the end of the day, like, to make a career out of it is a little bit more difficult. And I think that that's why people seek out other methods like what, you guys do, obviously, and what you teach, allows people to kind of break free from the traditional methods that people would go out and use to create a career, especially if you're in a degree like that is not as, tactical or not as applicable in today's day and age. That's where I think the skills of learning something online, and that's really what kind of drove me to do it, was like, hey, I need to find a different solution, something that's going to provide me like freedom, something that's going to allow me to, create the lifestyle that I want. And that's kind of, what drove me into the online space in the first place.
Yeah, and leading into that from a rock and a hard place to then taking a leap, what's been, I guess, some of your biggest and most successful days?
Days in terms of revenue.
Yeah, in terms of revenue, like even profit.
Yeah, totally. I think my most successful day was like 4,200. And on that day, I had a really good ROI. So I actually ended up doing like 3,500 in profit that day,
Yeah, wow.
which was great. And yeah, it was honestly kind of surreal at the time. I mean, now that I know it's possible, I obviously, want to do a whole lot more. But at the time, I was like kind of blown away.
Yeah, and how did that how did it feel when you first started like ramping up and making money? So you obviously made 3,500 in a day, which is like massive. And I remember you sent me over some screenshots. You were doing like pretty consistent, like $20,000 weeks, which is like very impressive. considering, in 2 weeks, you've made just basically like like an American, like a yearly salary, which is amazing. But how did it feel going from like a rock in a hard place to finding something that like clicked and realizing like, wow, this is the thing that I'm going to pursue? Like, what was that sort of journey? Because most people are on most people are on like that threshold where they're looking over the fence, they're seeing other opportunities, they're reflecting on where they're at, and they're starting this journey as well. So what was that moment where it like clicked and you're like, this is something, your brain starts ticking, you're like, this is going to work, I'm going to make this work, and you start seeing those like little successes which led to where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, early on, like, it's definitely it's a little bit surreal to see the money and how quickly it can start adding up. I mean, for example, yeah, I do a lot of travel, and I remember when I first started really kind of doing well with affiliate marketing, I was actually in Mexico City just doing some like casual travel. And I went out all day. I went to like the park. I was just walking around, getting some exercise and stuff like that. And I came back to my apartment in Mexico City, and I saw that I had actually made $700 that day in profit. And that's like the day that I realized, I was like, okay, like this is gonna, this can work. It's actually super valuable. And this is actually a vehicle that can take you from, basically a beginner all the way up to, some bigger days and stuff like that. So that was kind of the moment that everything shifted for me.
Yeah, that's the moment where, they say like you're making money while you're like sitting at a beach when you've like made it. So you pretty much,
Exactly.
yeah, in Mexico, and then you come back. Wow, that would be definitely surreal. And so you obviously like to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
And I've been able to do this, affiliate marketing all over the world. That's the best part about it. Like, whether you're working from home or whether you want to travel, it kind of gives you the freedom to be able to do that. Like I've, ran offers all over the world, traveling to Europe, traveling to South America, Mexico, wherever, and just been able to work from the laptop, which I think is super freeing, because all of a sudden, if you're working a 9-to-5 job and you're looking at affiliate marketing, you open up something brand new, which is complete location freedom, right? Like you're no longer strapped to a desk or a physical location, and it allows you to move around and travel as you see fit, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, how do you find the balance of doing it? Like, how do you find the balance of working and then, having enough time, or like, having more than enough time to enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, travel around?
Yeah, totally. I mean, with Google ads, it's actually a lot different, or YouTube ads, I should say. It's a lot more stable and a lot more steady. Like a lot of people are very used to Facebook, where you have to make constant iterations. Sometimes, you run into compliance issues, you run into other issues. But with YouTube, it's very, very stable. So like, even with, the first offer I got to work, I've actually been able to run it for over a year now, which has been great. And it's been very, very stable and very, very consistent. As long as you're making changes every now and then, you're going to be able to see that consistent, stable type of revenue generation, which is great. But on top of that, man, like if things are running and things are working well, you can just consistently turn up the budget. And, it's not a big time consumer of your day. And that allows you to kind of make a decision. Like, do you want to just do more? Do you want to test new offers? Do you want to continue to scale up? Or do you want to just enjoy your day, right? Like you kind of get to choose at that point.
Yeah, exactly right. And I do want to dive into how you find implementing the method, how you find scaling, like what you like the most about it. But in terms of like, sustainability and stuff, some of the screenshots you sent over, not only doing like consistently 20K weeks, but also you shared it was your biggest month was like 87,000, 89,000, and then like
Yeah.
60,000, 70,000. Like, being able to travel around while making pretty much like a high level income in a month is like massive, because I believe like a high level income in America is like 100K. 100K is pretty massive. And to make close to that every month is just, pretty mind blowing. But
Yeah.
before you started hitting those numbers, were there any like hardships or challenges that you had to overcome within yourself or within your environment or circumstance that you had to overcome in order to like really start hitting some big numbers?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just like the belief in terms of like, can this actually work? And obviously people, when you're starting something new, they see other success stories, they see people that are making it work, but they always think, can I make this work for myself? And I think it takes just diving in and testing things. where most people get stuck a lot of the time is just testing things. And at the end of the day, if you don't test, you're never going to win. Right. So I think that was the biggest thing, was like having the belief in yourself that you can actually make it work. Sometimes you need to prove it to yourself, and you're only able to do that through testing. So that was probably what held me back at the beginning. But once you get that first thing to crack, then you know it can work. And that's when you can actually go all in.
Yeah. I think that's powerful, getting those micro wins, like building that confidence, like jumping in, looking over the course, absorbing the information, and then just, yeah, like taking action and like getting those micro wins and then building up. So in saying that, like, what was your favorite thing about the course? What was your favorite thing about Profit Singularity? Like, what did you enjoy the most? What did you, struggle a little bit when you first started? Just because, a lot of people that are watching this might already be in the course, might be looking to jump in. And I just want to, it's so valuable to get insights from someone like yourself who's been on that journey, and inspire a lot of people to like realize, all right, what can they look forward to? What like potential challenges can come up? And yeah, just your mindset around that as you were journeying through it. And like as a high
Totally
marketer now,
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite thing in the course was definitely the framework that you guys give people, basically a sequence of things to do to prove out an offer, or to prove out an ad campaign, which essentially is like as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If you work the framework works, right? So like, as long as you're choosing an offer that is proven, right, which are a lot of the offers that you guys talk about, and then you just simply go through the framework, what you're going to find is that you're going to get some feedback. And a lot of the time, the feedback at the beginning might not look that promising, depending on, if you're new or if you're unexperienced or whatever. But if you just consistently do it, you're going to find results. And that's what I found was the best part of the course, was just following the framework, the proven framework that other people are using to go ahead and actually achieve the results. That was like the biggest thing for me.
And did you find that following the framework and what we taught in the course helped you overcome those limiting beliefs? Like, could you touch a little bit on that? Because some people might find, did you find the course overwhelming at all? Or was it pretty straightforward? And then, yeah, how did you go about overcoming those limiting beliefs? Because that is like one of the major blockages of most people, is like thinking, this can't happen for me, or, I'm not going to be able to make this work.
Yeah, I think in life, like, you get what you look for, right? Like at the end of the day, let's say, for example, you follow the course, like, and you take the first couple steps. Like, if you're looking for the results that you want to see, you're going to find them, right? Like, for example, if the course says to set up 3 ads and, 2 of them do bad and 1 of them does really well, one person's going to go in there and be like, oh, 2 of my ads failed. Whereas another person's going to go in there and be like, okay, cool, I'm closer to a winner because 1 of these actually worked, right? So I think it depends on, the person and what you're actually looking for and your expectations going into the course. Because at the end of the day, you get what you're looking for in life. And I think that helps, right? Like, if you do exactly what the course says, you're going to get the results that the course talks about. It just might not happen on your timeline, right? But that's not really how things work, right? At the end of the day. So I think if you just follow that system, that really helps.
Yeah, that's very true. And in saying that, how long did it take you from like when you started the course to, let's like point out a couple of milestones, like when you first made your first sale, like first $1,000 day, to then first, $20,000 week?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, for this in particular, like this offer in particular, I'd already been dabbling a little bit with YouTube stuff. So I'd actually already made my first sale before diving in, but it was really getting the framework and the process down that you guys teach that allowed me to kind of scale up. And that's when I started hitting the bigger days, right? So like, once you have that framework, even if you're trying to do it on your own, which a lot of people try to do, right? Like they don't necessarily buy a course, they don't necessarily hire a mentor or whatever. If you're trying it on your own, a lot of the times what you're missing is a proven framework that's actually going to get you the results that you're looking for, right? And so that was what allowed me to scale up. And I think that once I had that framework, I showed up into what I was doing with a lot more confidence, because I actually had a roadmap of how to go from 0 to where I wanted to go. And yeah, that was the big difference for me. So I think, like, after I bought the course, I started hitting, consistent $1,000 days, and that hasn't stopped yet. And, the version I had of the course is, I think like 8 months or something like that. So yeah, it's been great. And on the one offer that I have, I've been able to do, I think I checked today, like over 510K on that one offer, which has been great.
510,000. Wow, nice.
Yeah, which has been great. And obviously, I see other people in the course, and I know I'm just getting started. I know that there's people doing, what I do in a month every single day, right? And you can, look around the testimonials and just see that. So I know with those types of results that I'm, a very small fish in a big pond. But at the end of the day, like, this is me just getting started, right? So
Yeah.
I can only imagine what's gonna come of it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's honestly crazy to think because I'm talking to you doing 20K weeks, like 89K month, what did you say, $520,000 so far on that offer?
Yeah, 510, 520.
They're like massive numbers, and I think in our sort of realm, in our sort of community and course, like we do see that as like, all right, awesome. And it just motivates you. It's like, yeah, I've done this amount and now I'm going to be hitting that like in a day. I'm going to hit that in like a week.
Yeah.
It just shows how much momentum that you actually can build when you start getting those little wins and start seeing what's actually possible. Because, for most business models out there, people make like, maybe like $1,000, not even $1,000 a day, but to speak like 20K weeks and stuff, people say 20K months are massive, but to see, and even just your mindset of how confident you are of like, boom, I've hit this. And now it's just like turning it up, scaling it up. So
yeah. I mean, that's been really interesting because I know in my particular case, like, I know I'm not really running one of the top offers on, in the world, on the network or whatever. So I think if I applied the exact same principles to one of those top offers with the same level of confidence, at the end of the day, I know I could, smash way bigger numbers. And that's what I plan on doing in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing stems from confidence and understanding the process and what you have to go through to actually achieve the numbers you want.
That's very true. Well, I look forward to hearing you continue to like smash out some more successes, especially with some other offers. And so something I also wanted to touch on is just, what's some like advice that you could give to yourself or some other students on, how to maintain focus, how to maintain determination throughout the journey, because I mean, you've had like massive consistent success, but for someone else out there that may be struggling to get the ball rolling a little bit here and there, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is when you're analyzing business models or you're analyzing anything, right? Like, especially if you compare affiliate marketing to other business models like trading, or you compare it to other business models like running an agency or whatever, I think the big question that you have to ask yourself is like, what game do I want to win at the end of the day? Like, what game do I think would be the best for my lifestyle, the financial goals I want to achieve, or anything else, the lifestyle goals I want to achieve, right? And at the end of the day, when you compare affiliate marketing to other business models, there's not a whole lot that compares, right? Like at the end of the day, right? Being able to run ads, make money every single day. And so you just have to decide, like, is this a game that you want to win at? Once you decide that, it just comes down to a couple things, like taking the right actions, right? The course shows you how to do that. Number two is doing it for a long enough period of time, getting a long enough sample size. So committing to a certain period of time. Hey, I'm going to try this out for a year. I'm going to try this out for 3 years. I'm going to try it out for 5 years, right? Like Robert Kiyosaki says that he won't even start a business unless it's going to be a 3 to 5 year venture, right? At the end of the day. And the final thing is just being consistent, right? Doing something every single day that's going to allow you to get better, right? Whether that's like writing a new ad or, coming up with 5 hooks or whatever you need to do to get better every single day. As long as you apply those 3 things and just make the decision that this is going to be the vehicle you want to achieve success at or win at, then I think you're well on your way.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. And especially you said, like, consider this, even though you can make a lot of money quick, consider this like a project. Consider, I'm going to dedicate a certain amount of time every day. I'm going to dedicate a certain period of time, like a year, 2 years, 3 years, to cracking this code. Because once you do it, there's nothing ultimately, there's nothing more powerful than really making like $1,000 a day, because that's what most people pretty much spend 8 hours a day trying to make money. And unfortunately, with most jobs, that you're never going to be able to make $1,000 a day. You're never going to have that unlimited scalability where you can hit 20K a week and then automatically know, hey, I could do 40K a week, 100K a week, I could do 500K a week. So
Yeah.
that's pretty massive. So from going from a position where you were like, all right, I'm in a degree right now that's not going to be able to make me that financially stable, to being in a position now, what are some of the takeaways and like reflections on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think about money like a little bit differently. I mean, before being in affiliate marketing, I did have an agency that went on to do multi seven figures. But I mean, just the transition from being in university, being in college, and looking at the outlook of what your life could be versus what it is now, I don't think they compare at all at the end of the day, because when you start making thousands of dollars a day from your computer, you kind of realize that a lot of the things that you were taught at university or at school or whatever don't necessarily apply, or some of the things aren't exactly as true as they seem to be. And then once you find that financial time and location freedom, I can almost guarantee that a lot of people resolve that they're never going to go back, right? Because at the end of the day, you have ultimate freedom over a lot of the aspects of your life. So you might as well commit yourself fully to developing those skills and then just going all in, because once you do hit a big winner, you can honestly write your own ticket and just decide like, hey, I'm just going to continue to do this, right? The industry is not going away. I mean, at the end of the day, things might change, traffic sources might change, you might need to pivot a little bit, but at the end of the day, the industry is not going anywhere.
Yeah. And you did give an example of having that time freedom, instead of going on vacation and having to take work off. Like you mentioned that you actually just spent like a month in Europe while you were running your ads and still making money. So do you want to just touch on a little bit about the time freedom that this business model's allowed you to achieve?
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you look at it at the end of the day, Europe's on a completely different time zone than where I am. And so are some of the other places that I've been to, but that doesn't stop me from going out and traveling, because at the end of the day, you get to set your own schedule, right? Like I remember before I had even made any money, I would resolve to do one thing every single day that would get me close to my goal, right? For me, it was creating one ad variation and setting it up to test the next day, right? That was the one thing that I would do. Now that would take me sometimes on the long side of things, like that would take me maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But then you have the rest of your day to do whatever you want to do, right? Even if it does take an hour, which honestly, now it wouldn't take me an hour, but back then it did, right? So at the end of the day, you get to kind of decide, you get to kind of set your schedule. For me, that would be in the evenings, right? So I'd be able to set it up in the evenings between like lunch and dinner, and then I'd be able to do whatever I wanted at night, right? So you get to kind of set your own schedule up. For some people, that'll be in the morning, right? As soon as they wake up, they want to get it out of the way and they want to move on, right? But that's all up to the person who is going to be running the ads. And that's one of the best parts of this entire business.
Yeah. So touching on that, how long do you think you spend a day to make the money that you're currently making?
Right now, in terms of this particular offer, I'm not spending a lot of time on it, I would say. On slow weeks, I'm spending maybe 30 minutes a day. But on more intense weeks, when I'm trying to get it, to produce more, I'll spend, an hour or 2 hours. But truth be told, it's not usually that much time, because this is a very stable offer and it has been around for a while. So yeah, sometimes it's give or take. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But it's not more, never been more than like 4 hours in any given day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you go through the sort of building phase where you're spending more time to create something. And then, you can sit back, spend 30 minutes a day in your evenings to make, 3.5K a day profit even, which is pretty massive. You did touch on that you had other experience with agencies and, maybe you've had some other online experience. What would you say you like about this model more than the other models, the other business models that, you've tried and that you see out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The biggest difference that I see, like, for example, I've tried what I believe to be every business model online under the sun, right? I've been like selling books on Amazon, tried like literally everything. But what I was able to get working was an agency, right? But an agency comes with a lot of different things that can be burdens to an affiliate marketer. For example, you have to have a big team, right? Like at our biggest, our team was about 30 people, right? At the agency, right? You have to deal with clients every day. So, if anybody's been working a job or ever taken on agency clients, they are not always the funnest people to deal with, right? Especially when you're spending their money, right? In this business model, you get to spend your own money. If you make a mistake, it's on you, right? Whereas at an agency, if you make a mistake, it's someone else's money. And so you're responsible to them. And just a lot more overhead over there, lots more, a lot of more moving parts. Whereas an affiliate marketer can come in as a solo person, a solo individual, and start to make some pretty serious money without needing to hire an entire team, without needing to take on a lot of overhead in the form of softwares or in the form of anything like that, and actually go out and produce a full-time income, right? Whereas other business models, what I've found is that they do require other things. They require people management, compensation plans. They require a lot of different things that can be very burdensome. Whereas in this business, it's very much dependent on your ability to produce. And yeah, that's it at the end of the day.
And how did you find the course helped you transition from running that agency and your prior experience to jumping into something new and scaling up? I know you said it was like the sole reason for that big breakthrough, but how did that sort of transition go? And how did you find, learning something new in the online space?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, prior to your course, I had never really ran on YouTube. Did a lot on Facebook in the past, but never really on YouTube. So it was a very big, it was a learning curve for me. But at the end of the day, once you get a hang of it, it's a very simple platform to use. But yeah, just going from working with clients to not working with clients is a very liberating experience, right? Like those are the differences that you have here with affiliate marketing that I think make it, truly, one on its own in terms of like what you can go out and do as a solo person, especially with the tools that are out and available right now, like AI, some of the AI tools that are available that really do a lot of the heavy lifting that in the past an individual person might have done. Now you can have AI do, a good portion of the heavy lifting. And it really does take a lot of, it helps free up even more of your time, which is very, very beneficial.
Yeah, that's a good point to touch on as well. So how do you find implementing AI to speed up your workflow?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a lever, right? To, help you get the most out of your time. And I think anything that can speed up the process of anything, right? Whether it's creating ads or whether it's writing blog posts or anything that you can imagine, if you can get more out of your time as an individual, it's obviously worth it. And if you don't need to pay people like in the past, a lot of the time you'd have to pay a virtual assistant to a lot of these things. You no longer need to do that, right? It comes with a tool that's a lot of the times free. And at the end of the day, you can actually just go out and use it. So I think it's been remarkably helpful because you don't need to do a lot of the things that you had to do in the past. And even if you need to set up an AI system, it can do it a lot of the times better and faster. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is like a massive point because even, back in the day, jumping into new business models and stuff, you have to do like everything yourself. But now if you just understand the concepts, the themes, if you understand the structure, you can then go deploy AI. And as you said, you can leverage AI to pretty much do all of that for you, which is, I think it's honestly made, my life so much easier. And it sounds like it's made yours a ton easier as well.
Yeah.
So you did a lot of agency work where you were working with clients, constantly having to do meetings, reports, working with employees. Do you want to just like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of the times the method is transferable, right? Like, so for example, if you're taking the method in your course, which is, like I said, it's basically a 5-step system to go out and find, winning ads, right? Let's say, for example, I took that into my agency and I decided to use it on Facebook. Well, that's a similar type of system is going to end up working for other business models or other ways to make money. And so, yeah, it's really been a launch pad to help me at the end of the day. But yeah, man, I mean, it's all just comes down to a framework that works, just plain and simple. And once you have the framework, you're able to go out and, accelerate your results, which I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And do you enjoy actually running ads and creating scripts and stuff? Like, how do you find that process?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I do it, obviously a lot now. It's something that I'm going to do for a really, really long time, just because I understand it super well now. And I think that it would just be, frankly, dumb for me to stop. So I think that, yeah, it's awesome. I'm honestly a really big fan of like copywriting. I read copywriting books, advertising books that would put most people to sleep. So yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it immensely. I mean, it's what I do. Like, just thinking about copy, thinking about new ads. It's something that I do secondhand, like naturally. And so, yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I remember you also discussed and touched on when you hit that first winner, you were in Mexico and you made like $700 profit. And then you touched on how you were just sort of scaling and you were finding it consistent to just like sort of run it at a certain point. You only spend 30 minutes a day on it. Do you want to discuss a little bit about how you scaled up to that level? So like when you found a winner, do you want to walk us through the next steps on how you got to like where you are now?
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you do find a winner, I don't think it's super complicated. I mean, you can even look through some of the other testimonials here and just see that a lot of people just double the budget every night. That's one of the methods that I've used. I mean, also testing out new audiences has been really big for me. And the offer that I'm running, you can actually run worldwide. So I remember the first big month that I had, I actually just took all the targeting off of it, all the ages off of it, all the targeting off, and just turned it up. And yeah, I had the biggest month ever. And that was actually like over Christmas, which was kind of like strange. Typically, when traffic costs are at their highest, was actually when I had my biggest month ever, which I thought was pretty crazy. But yeah, it just worked.
And how much was that? How much was your biggest month?
Yeah, I believe it was like 89,000, just over 89,000 US. Something
Yeah,
like that.
wow, nice. And I mean, that's also the power of like leveraging, we talk a lot about AI and this, but Google in itself has such advanced AI that, yeah, even just running an offer without any targeting, without any, no targeting, basically broad, worldwide, men, women, all ages. And they do literally all the heavy lifting for you to like put your ad in front of buyers and like it automatically optimizes. So that sounds like it was one of the keys to like your breakthroughs. It's just like letting Google do its thing, like taking your hands off, not having to like control it too much, and then boom, just
Yeah.
skyrocket.
I mean, if you come from Facebook, you're used to like button pushing and testing new audiences and duplicating the ads, and basically touching them all the time, every day, especially when you're at scale. With Google, a lot of the time, in my experience, once you have a winner, you can just turn it up and Google will actually go out and find the buyers. Like we talked about at the end of the day, like I was able to just take all the targeting off, the ages and everything, run it worldwide and have success because that my offer actually allows you to do that, runs in every single country. Anybody can buy it. And so that's what was kind of a breakthrough for me.
Yeah, yeah, wow. I mean, like, yeah, massive. So when you first, so you had a winner, like, because we have a screenshot of your monthly, which we could show, and even the weekly. But so you were running, and then you decided, hey, I'm going to test some more. You tested that, and then bang, it just started exploding, and you just started scaling it up.
Yeah, exactly. So once once when you see the jump from maybe your like standard ad or your control, and you see something outperform your best ad by, let's say, 3x, well, that could be your new winner, right? And that's when I decided to turn it up once I started seeing those results. And yeah, it was a combination of an ad that I didn't even think would work, and it ended up working, super well for me.
Well, that shows the importance of testing. You got to test your way to success. And as you said, once you have that framework in place, you can become a lot more confident in doing that. And of course, you didn't start, hitting an $89,000 a month. You started small. You started making your first sale, implementing the process. So for some other people out there, what would be some major takeaways that you wish you implemented earlier to have success faster?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of when you look at the course and when you think about your own results, it does come down, like, anybody can buy a course, right? And you know, people that pay do pay attention, but a lot of the times it does come down to, what are you going to do with that course? What are you going to do with the knowledge that you learn? And what have you seen other people do, right? Obviously, the course is proven. You know, you can just tell by the results, and you can tell by the people that are in the course making it happen every single day. But now it comes down to the person who's actually behind the computer, right? Like, what are you going to do every single day to go out and actually produce the results that you're looking for? That's the question that you got to ask. And then you got to take action on it, right? So every single day, going through the process of, you know, going out and finding a winner is going to be what separates people from having success or not having success, right? Is, what are you going to do every single day? And then not giving up, right? Just simply don't quit. If you follow the process, you're
Yeah, you know, take massive actions, stay laser focused, and never give up. They're really the three main things that pretty much every single person that I interview literally says, because that's the core of it, right? That's the core of it. But to fuel that, you know, what was your why? Like, why did you persist at it? Why did you look for another opportunity? What was that, you know, what was inside you that made you want to like pursue something more?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, once you have a skill, you look to use that skill to achieve your goals, right? And my goals were the three things that we talked about before, which were financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom in your life, meaning you can go wherever you want, work whenever you want, or not work whenever you want, and be able to pay or buy whatever you want, right? And so those were my kind of three big things. And that was kind of the reason I did it at the end of the day, and why I'm going to continue to do it, and hopefully triple, quadruple these results, you know, leaving here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now that you have the time freedom, location freedom, you know, what are your next, you're already, you know, you're at that level. So what are your next goals? Like, what are the milestones and objectives that you're setting for yourself in the next, you know, 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I was actually going to mention that when I first started affiliate marketing, my goal was to make $30K a month. I thought, you know, if you can just make $1,000 a day, you'll be good, right? Like $1,000 a day and you'll be fine, right? Obviously, been able to way past that. So my goals now are basically to turn my weekly results into my daily results. So basically, take my biggest week ever and make it a daily result, I think would be really, really cool to achieve. I know it's possible. I don't doubt that it's possible. I know it's possible. I've already seen, met, shaken hands with, been around people who've done it. And so now I just know what I have to do, which is go out and execute and do something every day, like I've said, that's going to get me to that result. So there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, man. Like, and once you have that success momentum, you know, you can literally pinpoint to a goal and say, all right, I'm going to hit that. And then you can go and hit that. Just like you would have said, you know, you want to hit 30K a month. You smash past 30K a month, you're doing 20K a week. So it's just that same sort of momentum that you're building. And like, 100% that you're going to hit it. And I look forward to seeing your results and seeing you hit it and celebrating that with you as well. And just to also touch on that. So like, one thing that I like to do is like set a goal. And you could, you know, put some of your goal setting advice in there as well. But like, I'll set a goal, but my goal will be like multi-leveled. So I'll be like, all right, I want to hit, you know, 100. Let's say I want to hit $20,000. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to hit $20,000 in like total sales. And then I'll be like, all right, then I'm going to change that to $20,000 in total profit. And then I'm going to change that to $20,000 in a month. And then I'll change that to $20,000 profit in a month. And I'll just keep doing it like that. So I'll set a number and I'll just keep. And what I find is that like tricks my brain to be like, all right, it's just the same thing. I've already hit 20K revenue. I'll hit 20K profit. I'll hit 20K in a week. I'll hit 20K in a day. And it's just sort of setting that benchmark and just like consistently hitting it around the same sort of number. I find that actually allows me to perceive it as so much more like easier, because it's like the same sort of benchmark. I'm just changing the sort of terms around it. So that's something that I do.
Yeah, makes sense, man. I mean, I like to gamify things. So like, I'll set up a reward, right? So like, let's say, for example, you hit a certain number. Maybe it's like you want to go out to a nice dinner, or maybe you want to take a trip somewhere, or maybe you want to buy an item that, you know, in the past you wouldn't have been able to buy or whatever. Once you hit your goal, go ahead and reward yourself. Like, you hit your goal, you worked hard. that gives you the motivation to continue going. And then after you get that, set a new goal, just like you just talked about, and go out and make it happen again.
Well, it's been awesome to learn about your journey and talk with you. I think those things that you touched on there are going to be massive for students, just because the mindset is obviously one of the biggest things, but also having those sort of tactical frameworks in their mind of like, all right, this is what I got to expect. This is, for people struggling right now to see the numbers that you're hitting, to see that it's all possible. And then the main things that you like to focus on. I think all of that's very transferable, and like whoever's watching this right now, I think they're going to get a lot of value. So I just want to say that I appreciate you coming on and sharing that story and sharing some of your numbers, and it's going to be very valuable to a lot of people.
Totally, man. Appreciate you and appreciate the course and everything you guys have been able to do. It's been, incredibly helpful. So yeah, man, I appreciate it, and thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll leave it there, everyone. So hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you on the next interview.